Hello everyone, and welcome to our session today on how to build your NAV Test Team. We're going to be going over some best practices, tips and tricks with you. And joining us today is Desiree Gigear and Holly Kudel from Innovia Consulting. And we're excited to have such a fantastic turnout today. Before I pass it over to Des, I would like to remind you that this session is being recorded, and it will be posted to our on-demand webinar library later this week for you to review and share with anyone. And if you do have any questions, we just ask that you type those in the questions box, and we will get those answered during our Q&A time at the end of our session. And so now I will pass it on to Des to kick off our presentation.
Great. Thank you, Angie. And you can hear me, correct?
That is correct, Des.
Fantastic. Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for taking a little bit of time out of your busy schedule to review with us how to build a NAV test team. And today you've got myself, Desiree Gigear. I'm a senior application consultant here on the Innovia support team, and I have a special guest with me, Holly Kudel, and her perspective that she's going to bring to today's presentation is her experiences as a former CIO at American Ring, where they went through multiple NAV upgrades, and she assembled her own team of NAV experts and testers. So she's going to bring great insight to this whole concept. So thank you very much, Holly, for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me, Des.
So today's agenda, we're going to cover the importance of your C-level and company-wide support, ways that you can support your test team, who should be on the test team kind of selection process, and then what to test, how to test, ways to test, and the inherent opportunities that are going to be recognized by your organization, taking great care in assembling this NAV team. And I found this great comment out on the web, and I sort of doctored it up. So this is me telling you that a team with a star player is a good team, but a team of star players is a great team. So your test team is not made up of just one person. It's usually an entire team of people. So success starts at the top. Make sure that the project is looked at as an IT project. I see this a lot out in the world, and really your ERP system is the heart of your business. Your ERP is just another one of those tools to help you do business, and the more efficient your business systems operate, the more scalable your business is going to become. So it's a business project. It's a way to help your business achieve more success. It's really not just, in quotes, IT project. Buy-in and overall support begins with the C-suites. So this is going to require a lot of support at all phases of the project, throughout the entire life cycle of the project as well, and by all levels of management. So the reality is your team members, and that's the testing team, the team members will mirror the attitudes that they see within the organization, which again just reinforces the buy-in has to start with your C-suite. And you really only recognize the return of your software investment when it's live. So we all know that when we purchase an add-on, or we purchase software, or we go to implement a portion of that software, you really only recognize the return on investment after it's live. So key things supporting that, the success of your testing team starts with support at all levels. So how do we support that team as management? Make sure everybody on that team knows just how important that project is, even across departments. So maybe that project is only going to affect certain members or certain departments, not all departments. Make sure every department knows what's going on and how important the project is, because we all have to work together for success. Make sure everybody understands why they were selected to be on the test team. So what skills did you like? Did they have leadership? Did they have motivational qualities? You know, what are they bringing to the table? What experience, maybe past roles within the organization? What knowledge are they bringing to the tasks, to the testing tasks, to what knowledge might they have in terms of how the business has grown? You know, maybe they've played multiple roles within the organization. The team needs to know why they were selected, you know, so not only the project is really important to the business, but why did you pick me? Because it sort of reinforces the reason why they're there, and it reinforces how important we feel that their role is. Make sure everybody knows the roles and responsibilities, what we expect of them. So we're going to give due dates, we're going to give deadlines, make sure that each member understands the priority. They have to understand the priority of the testing tasks. You know, again, the return on investment thing, we have to make sure that I know that they have their own requirements, their daily duties that they are in charge of, but also make sure that this project and the testing that we're giving them needs to take priority as well. So, and make sure that we've got company-wide support, supporting them with these due dates and priorities. So again, it is not their main work, you know, as a partner, our main work is getting you up and running, but your employees have got to do their daily duties as well as these additional tasks. So we've got to allow them to give that priority. So can we provide them maybe backup for their daily activities so the testing can take a priority? And Holly, she showed me, she talked to me about a trump card scenario that she gave her testing staff. And Holly, I'd love it if you would share that trump card concept with the group.
Sure. So as Des and I were talking and about the C-suite level people and how do you get their buy-in? And so when we talk about C-suite, we're talking about your CEO, your board, your president of your company, your chief operating officer, and that level of the engagement team. And without their support and help, you're not going to go very far. So you need them involved. And what really speaks to that group of people is return on investment. And so they're always asking, okay, if we're going to do this, when am I going to get my money back? When is there going to be a return on what I've invested? And so a great tool and picture for them is showing them that building this team, putting this team together, making this part of their daily responsibility, so it's not a side job. This is part of their workflow. This is part of their job, is to participate on this team and do the testing whenever it's required or needed, that becomes a priority, because we don't see that return on your investment until testing is done and it's moved into the live database. So if we say we're going to implement an ISV and we've spent a ton of money up front to purchase that licensing, we've spent money with the partner getting it all set up and put into test, and then we sit on it for 6 months, there's no return on investment. We're losing money every day against that investment because it's not live. So the sooner that we can test and get it up and running and move to production, the sooner we are getting our money back and starting to make money off of what we've invested in. And so that speaks loud to them. And it's very clear to them that they want to see that happen. And so they buy in real quick to that. The other thing that's a great talking point with them, with ERPs is the whole silo effect. We get caught up in purchasing does this and sales does that and the warehouse does this over here. And in an ERP, it's not a silo effect. Everybody is connected to everybody else. Everything relates to each other. And so we need to get rid of that whole silo mentality. And this team needs to become a amalgamated team of people from all over the company that works together to ensure that our ERP is working and running the way it needs to, and that we are testing and getting things into that live production database so that we can be the best team that we can be. We could be the most productive, use the automation, use the tools available to us to make this thing just hum. And, you know, I'm convinced that NAV is the latest, greatest, best thing out there, Business Central included. And if we tweak it and work it and build this team to help us support it, though it should be, the sky is the limit. You've got an incredible tool in your hands, and we just need to learn to build these teams and use it the correct way.
So Holly, I have a question. When I've got a tester and, you know, they've got a heck of a lot of work on their plate just from their normal daily duties. And they've now got rallying due dates for my daily normal work versus I have to get this testing done. You know that sometimes the testing sort of takes a back seat to regular work. How do we help alleviate some of those scenarios?
Those are great questions. First, I would buy them pizza and give them Red Bull. That always helps get everybody going. And, you know, empower them. That's important. If they feel empowered and that this is an important job, that, you know, they are the champion of their team, and life will end if they don't do their piece of the pie on testing and as a part of this team, you're going to get results from them because they've taken ownership of their area and what they're doing. Also, as a team, building, you know, working together, coming together as a team, cross-training, looking at things together also helps to build that team camaraderie where one is maybe feeling a little like blah or overwhelmed. Another can pick them up and lift them and help them continue to move down the road and down that path. Big wins, share wins, you know, silly things, you know, going to the NAVUG Summit and things like that is a great place to pick up all kinds of neat little NAV swag. And so I always had a drawer full of swag from all the different events that we would attend. And so somebody does something really cool or comes up with a great idea or, you know, completes testing in a really quick manner, I take something out of the drawer and throw it at them and like, yay, we got a big win, and everybody in the room cheers and, you know, gets excited about it. But, you know, it's just something little, but it calls attention to the fact that, you know, we appreciate them and they're doing a great job. The other thing would be getting that, the same thing, your C-suite and your management team to step outside of the box and call attention to those things as well when they've had big wins, when they've done some cool stuff, and in company meetings or newsletters, things like that, and calling those things out to them as well.
That's cool. Those are good reminders. Awesome. Well, thank you. So who should be on the test team? My first opinion is going to be ask for volunteers. Ask for volunteers early on in the project. These are going to be your advocates for change. They're even going to bring their own ideas to the table on what needs to change, why it needs to change. They're going to help you establish the success criteria for the project. They're inherently, just by the position that they're going to take, inherently creating buy-in among other users because they're going to know the reasons for the change, why we need the change, etc. And these are the same people that are going to turn into your test script writers, user manual updaters, your NAV team, basically. They're going to be your testers today, but tomorrow they're going to be your NAV force. And Holly, what happened at American Ring? What did you see there with the people that were on the team?
So again, great information for everyone out there. our test team became a thing with an upgrade, a re-implementation. So we had done a re-implementation way back when in version 5, and 2 people tested everything. And you can only imagine how well that went. We won't go into horror stories, but it was not good. So when we were going to do 15, this idea of the test team came to me, and that I need this group of people so that that doesn't happen again. It was ugly. And so I began to look about, and one thing I knew for sure was the managers were not the test team. So, put that, just scratch them off your list immediately. We don't want managers necessarily on the test team. Why? Right? You're going, why not? They're the managers. Well, because that's what they are, managers. They aren't doing the work. They aren't in NAV like everyone else. They're managing their teams. And so we don't need them. We need the guy who is sitting entering purchase orders. We need the guy who is shipping, all day long, every day. We need the CSR who's entering orders all day, every day, and running credit cards and doing those different things. So those are the people that we need, are your everyday hardworking end users on the team. And one way I found was engage. As a CIO or a NAV admin, IT manager, whatever hat you want to call it, if you're not out there on the floor shipping alongside them, entering orders alongside them, you don't know those people. You don't know that team. And when you're out there doing those things, you start to see the ones who have the ideas, who have a passion for NAV and what they're doing, because they start coming to you. If you're available to them, they will show up, and you'll start seeing who should be on this team, because they're the ones going like, do you think we could do this? And what if we did that? And can it do this? And I noticed this over here, and all of a sudden it's like, God, that's a good candidate for the team. And so you bring them on board that way, and build that team with some strength. And what I could say is that team that we established for an implementation became so much more. So they stayed together. And so anytime we did an implementation, an upgrade, added an ISV, brought in a new mod, as small as it could be, I had an email for the NAV team. I called them the Mission Possible team. I give names to everything. So they were the Mission Possible team. I just type in Mission Possible. Hey, there's a new mod put in, or hey, we just put in an ISV we're going to use, and they would go to work. And 15, 20 minutes later, they'd all respond back to that email saying, all my workflows, everything in our department's good to go. Or if there was an issue, they'd let us know that as well and stuff. So it became very simple to test. I could just sit back and drink coffee while they did the work. And but it worked flawlessly. We could get stuff done quickly. They also learned to work together. And when they'd run into trouble, or maybe it worked for sales but didn't work for purchasing, they'd get together and figure out a way so it would work for both of them. So it just became a really conducive team. We started having quarterly meetings. I called the Wildest Dreams meeting, and our partner would come to that meeting and join us. And they didn't charge us. They just liked to come to the meeting because it was fun to be there and hear all these crazy things that people came in and wanted to do. And so if you owners and involvement, people will surprise you. Their creative side will turn up, and they'll start getting involved, and sky is the limit. This team isn't assembled and just stays as this little test team and that's it. It can grow into so much more.
That's awesome. That's pretty cool. Thank you. All really great information. So to your point, not managers or department heads, really every department should be represented. And then a result of doing that, we get cross-trained employees, and usually the testers are going to become the trainers as well as your NAV experts within the organization. And then some, from the sounds of it, we're going to build camaraderie. So let's move on. What should we test? Use the 80-20 rule. So the testing has to include the business scenarios that are your exceptions. So we're not just testing one type of order every single time. We are actually testing all business scenarios. I like to document your daily work tasks. So pull examples of your daily workout. Do this across the department though as well. So if you've got only one person representing that department, make sure that you're talking to the entire department to grab that information. But pull examples. Whenever we used to do, mock go lives, etc., we would say for a full day or a full week leading up to that mock go live, grab a manila folder, take screenshots, print out 2 invoices if you're printing 1, print 2, use post-it notes if it's something that you're doing but it's not in the system, but maybe the data touches the system, or screenshot it and put it into your manila folder. Do that across the board, across the department. Save those examples of your work and then keep it ready when it's time to test. So, and I would start this early on. Remember way back when we were asking for volunteers for the team, they had their own success criteria in mind. Starting way back then is when I would start pulling samples of your work and starting those UAT test scripts and documenting all of the minutia that you want to start testing. And speaking of minutia, it's the things that we don't always think about either. We're going live with an ERP system, but Holly and I were talking before this meeting, and she brought up a great point. Hey, I fax this out or I email it out. Well, what's it look like on the other end? I wouldn't think of testing that part. So get real specific with the examples that you want to test and include things that touch the system, or go out to your customer and make sure you've got a cross section of that. Also, when we're talking test scripts, use Excel worksheets with assignments, end user assignments with due dates, and then share and consolidate that feedback. So as you do go through the test script, get together as a team. Now, so this was my idea, get together as a team and discuss the issues that you've uncovered, errors that you might have found, and then add a column, if we're talking Excel, that identifies if it's a nice to have, need to have, mission critical. And then I'm going to just give you a sample of what we use in terms of UAT test script. And then, how do we identify and prioritize what we send to the partner? Holly had a completely different approach, and I really like it, because when you're going through your UAT test scripts, during that time, usually your partner's right there at the ready, waiting to field the questions and the conversations. So Holly, how did you guys go about the whole testing script? And then when each of your testers encountered a problem, what did they do?
All right, so we dropped the only approvals through Holly routine that was normal at the company. And what you find at most companies, there's 1 or 2 people who are allowed to engage with the partner and approve work being done. It is expensive to work with your partner, so you want to keep that floodgate from opening. But in these cases, we opened the floodgates and we entrusted our employees to work directly with our partner. And so when we were in test phase, if they ran into a problem, they would just send back an email saying, hey, here's where I'm at, here's the issue I'm getting, here's a screen print, I'm stuck at this point in the testing, and the partner would get that and respond back and make some tweaks or give them some instruction on maybe they were just doing something incorrectly with the changes that we had made and stuff, and walk through those things and continue the testing. So what it was doing was allowing them to continue the flow and not have to stop, make a screen print, email me, then I would email the partner, wait for a response, get the response back, go back to the person that was testing, which takes a lot of time. So we eliminated all of that bandwidth and white noise in the background of running back and forth and stuff, and just, okay, we're in test mode. It's bam, 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 let's get it done, let's see if it works, and let's move it to live again. Back to that whole, the quicker and more efficiently we can test. So wasn't like, let's do it fast and shortcut it, but it's an efficient way to test and then get that moved into our production database.
So you've lifted that requirement of everything should go through you during the testing process. You're lifting the requirement and saying, go ahead and reach out to the partner and letting them communicate with the partner directly. And I will say that doing that, what I've seen is when users begin experiencing errors that they can't get past, they might have an entire list of boxes to check and they've gotten through 2 of them. They usually stop at the first error and do not proceed. So that also alleviates that problem too. You know, we all think, oh, just keep going, you know, test a different scenario. Oh, I can't, you know, I ran into a problem. That's actually going to address that situation too. So I think that's a great idea.
Right. And
so
I
if
mean,
you can coordinate with your partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're a CIO, you're the NAV admin, you're the IT manager, you've got 100 things on your plate. You might be at lunch. It may be that they started testing and you had half a day that you were going to be out of the office. They would have to wait for you to come back to deal with stuff. So this empowered them to continue moving forward even in your absence. I was copied on everything that went back and forth. I could jump in where I was needed, but it kept the flow going on the testing. Being on the other side, on the support side, it shocks me sometimes to see how long items will sit and test and not even move forward and reach out to a client and ask, you know, how's testing going? Oh, we forgot about that. It kind of fell off the radar and stuff. And, you know, I mean, that's not the way to do it.
Right.
To let it just sit.
Right. Yep. All right, well, let's keep moving. We talked about what to test scripts. So how do we test? And the way I've done things is to always make sure that you get the schedule for each of your testing sessions early on in the project. So you're accommodating any holidays or vacation time and stuff like that. So make sure that you get it on the schedule. Make sure that you plan for it. Build it into your schedule so it's not a last minute idea. And it's going to be, you know, how often should I schedule the sessions? As often as the complexity of the project. So you'll understand what needs to happen. If we're talking a full-on, you know, re-implementation or ERP install, it's going to be quite frequent, closer to go live that you get. And then what I've always done in the past, especially for UAT before going live, is get everybody, all of my testers in the same room, in one conference room, and test the entire life cycle of the task at hand. So if we're talking a full-blown ERP installation, remember that manila folder that we kept loading up with great examples? Well, let's get those out and let's put everybody into one room, because what this is going to do is I'm in purchasing, I added my PO, I'm in a new, different environment, you know, now I'm now I pass to receiving, but guess what? That guy's sitting right next to me. So when he goes to receive it, gets that error, hey, wait, I don't know what this means. Well, I don't have to wait a day and a half because we're all doing this at our desk. We're in the conference room together. He can lean over to me and say, it says this. I don't know what it means. Well, the purchaser does, so I'll go ahead. I'll update that data. It does a lot of things doing it this way. That purchasing guy gets familiar with some of the errors and some of the required data. And the purchaser, you know, learns as well what kind of data is required for the transaction. And now we're testing the entire life cycle of the data flow throughout the entire system. And then we talked about using test scripts. So I would use test scripts, and again, your test scripts are your living, working documents. So they'll continue to be added to, and eventually your test scripts are also going to be, evolve into your user manuals. So how did you guys test, Holly, at American Ring?
So yeah, everybody kind of worked from their own desks and test. We did not get together and test in a conference room. That would have been great fun. But everyone did it from their stations and worked through their processes that they needed to do. We did do life cycle testing, which is a great tool. So what that means would be you start at, I'm a purchaser and I'm going to buy this product. So we buy the product. Maybe we even set up a new item just for fun. Set up the item, buy the product. We send that information here. I bought these 8 products. We send it to the people out in receiving that are on the test team. That person receives it all in. No problems. Everything in their workflow is great. They take that. They send that document then to the sales people and the CSRs, and they say, all right, here's the product we just bought. Go ahead and sell it to people. They go ahead and they sell it to people. It, gets sold. They send it off then with the sales order numbers they created to the shipping department. The shipping department does their thing. They ship it all out and everything's good. And then they're done. They say, okay, we're good. Everything works here. Send it off to accounting. Accounting invoices it and takes care of their end. And on the purchasing side, the AP people go out and pay that vendor and stuff. And so we walk through the entire process as a team and see that it works in every area as we would go along. So that would be kind of how we tested. Test scripts became, just what you said, user manuals, great for new employees. This team also became, someone new came into their department, they were responsible to train them. They knew the workflows better than anybody. They could hand them those test scripts and let them walk through them, those user manuals, and new employees are great for finding things that we miss in what we write. And so a great opportunity for them to sort of tweak those if we need to. Like, I don't understand what this means, then rewrite it, set it up so that we do understand it. Another group of people that are great for running through test scripts and helping with testing are interns. So if you're hiring on interns, great resources to use. They don't know how to do workarounds and get through the system or bypass things. And so they are great people to utilize. Someone who's been there for 30 years, you can hand them a test script and they're going to tell you, yeah, it's great. And they may have not done anything on that paper because they have as many workarounds as the years that they've been there for what they do. And so that's not helpful. So using those new employees and interns are great opportunities to make sure that your documentation really could take someone off the street and bring them in and teach them that job.
That's great. That's really great. Huh. Good points all around. So with everything we talked about today, I think we get a lot of opportunities being realized. The first one being we're building teams. Everybody's becoming a little closer. We're breaking down the silos. There's inherent cross-training going on, from finding somebody to cover for the person who's testing to sitting in that testing room together, doing life cycle testing, your purchasing department, your AP department, on through to check writing people. We're all in the same room and we're all sort of learning some of the hurdles that each department is bearing, and we're ultimately creating better knowledgeable staff because they have a understanding of the big picture, the hows and the whys of the business. Everyone's gaining an understanding of what's going on within the organization, and they're knowledgeable about the up and downstream processes and what happens when information or the lack thereof makes it up or downstream. And the ideas are going to continue to flow even after the project. And I think, Holly, you had a lot of great feedback on your team continued to meet even after the project. They became your NAV experts, and they met every 3 months and talked about all kinds of cool stuff that they wanted to continue to do even after the project went live. So as a recap, I think it's very, very important for the C-level as well as company-wide support is given to the test team. They need to understand that they're supported. We covered ways to support the test team, make sure that they've got daily work covered when they've got rallying responsibilities, and the whole company can celebrate some of their wins. We know who should be on that test team, asking for volunteers when they're available. And then we also covered, how to, start, when to start, and how to keep adding your test scripts and saving process critical information and samples for you to continue to test or test when the test sessions come out. So, and then we covered some of the opportunities that are inherent in the process. And Holly, I'm going to ask you just for one last plug, if anybody takes something away from today, what would you think the most important part would be?
Building a successful team, finding those right team members, the ones who are invested, who are passionate about the business and about NAV, and you find them pretty quickly. They stand out, and they're a lot of fun to be with. And if you're a NAV admin or a CIO, you are probably already a passionate person about what you do and about the ERP. And so rallying the troops around you that are like-minded and enjoy that is a lot of fun. It just makes the job fun. I loved going to work. It was hard to leave them, but I knew that, you know what, I could walk away and the company was in good hands because every department had a strong CIO of their own on each team. So it set them up for success, whether I was there or not.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for being here, Holly, and participating with us and giving your perspective from the end user's perspective. I think it's been very, very helpful. I do open it up to the group and see if there's any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Des and Holly.
What do we do? Yep. Found one of the questions, Angie.
Oh, did you? Well,
yeah.
Would you
so
like
one
to
of
answer?
the questions says, yeah, so the question is, what do you do when you don't have a volunteer from every department? And I think that, my answer, I'm going to let Holly answer too, because I'm sure that you've run across this too, but my answer would be, and to Holly's point a little bit ago, you do know who those key players are. You do know who your rock stars in the department are. I would appoint them or ask them and tell them during the questioning, I need your help, I want your help, here's why, and then let them know what kind of support you're ready to provide to them, because chances are, they're not going to stick their hand out or put their head up, and say, I'll do it, when they don't know what kind of support that they're going to get from the organization. I'm sure that not volunteering because they're worried. They're not going to be able to do both my normal day-to-day business as well as these new tasks that just got piled onto my plate. And what do you think, Holly?
Great.
Anything to add
well,
on that?
On my end, being funny on one side is, they got to hang out with me and that was really cool. But in reality, that was really where they were at. They got to hang out with me and it was really cool. And I say that because as a leader, as the NAV admin, CIO, whatever your hat again that you're wearing is that they're looking to you. And if you present yourself and you're available to them on the level where you're supportive and you're out on the floor talking with them and working through things with them and showing them things that will better their job and help them to do a good job and stuff, and that you're caring and you're compassionate about them and what they're doing and about the company and about NAV and stuff, they want to be with you. They want to be on your team. It's no longer like, how do I find someone? It's like, gee, like you'll have to wait till someone drops off to be on the team and stuff. So, starting with yourself, being the cheerleader, being that person that they can count on and rely on. And one of the things I did was I'd spent time I would come in my jeans and t-shirt and be out on the floor shipping right alongside them. And I learned a lot about their processes and what I can do in my job, in my position, to make their job better, their life easier, take stress away from them as they're, getting stuff packed and shipped out the door on time and stuff like that. They appreciated that, and they saw that I was genuine and cared about them and what was going on, and they wanted to be a part. They knew that it was going to be a great thing. They knew that I was going to support them. We had the C-suite buy-in where they appreciated the team and brought things to the table and gave them opportunity to do what they were doing. It wasn't going to be like, well, gee, now I've got to stay 3 hours later to ship because I was testing today. There was understanding that either they were going to just be testing and then they would have the remaining of their 8 hours to work, or they were graciously rewarded if they did work overtime or come in on a Saturday to do something.
Cool. Good answer.
All right,
Any other
ladies?
questions?
Yes. When do you push your due dates out versus pushing back on your team and letting them know it just needs to be completed by the date assigned?
Huh.
Wow, that's a great
Well,
question.
yeah.
I know
Yeah.
who asked that. Somebody that was on my team. So that is a great point that needs to be made. Is my team knew, and part of that being on the team and wanting to be a part, and they knowing they could count on me and trust me, was if we weren't all in agreement that we're ready, then we're not ready, and we push the date back. And so for us, that's how it worked. There was never a pressure of like, look, everybody else signed off, you better get done and sign off. That was never the equation that we worked under. So that piece of it was, not part of the puzzle. It was always, all right, you guys are the test team. When you all are comfortable that we are ready to move this, then we move it. And if we miss the due date, we miss the due date. And if someone takes heat for it, I take the heat for it, not them. And so making sure that they know that you have their backs and that there's no pressure. Yes, we want to be diligent. Yes, we want to be efficient. But if we're not comfortable signing off, that's a good thing, not a bad thing. And so we push out those dates. When do you think you'll be comfortable? When do you think you'll be ready? And we work from there.
So you're kind of the responsibility back onto the team. All right, if you don't think we're ready by Friday, or if you are not comfortable, when can we be? When do you think you can get to it? When are you going to be comfortable? How much more testing? Are there scenarios? So there's what I'm hearing, constant interaction. So it's not a surprise, number one, and number two, there's support and you are participatory throughout the entire event or life cycle, basically.
Yep. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Only you would be able to answer that one. What else, Angie? Are there any other questions?
Oh yeah, we got a couple more. You recommended that you start testing early. For a new implementation, moving from a different ERP to NAV, how long prior to go live would you recommend starting testing?
As soon as you get your hands on a sample copy of the database, to be quite honest, even if it's a Cronus database. And that's my answer. I really think that most of the time when we're new to an ERP package, we spend more time trying to make the system look like our old system, the new one look like the old. And that's not why we bought the new to begin with, and that's not why we're trying to come off the old. So I would take some of the basic training courses that's offered by NAV, or Microsoft. I would get all my users into that system, because the earlier they get in, the more they know the flow of data. It's different, but they're becoming more and more familiar with it. And now they may even say, oh, hey, did you guys know it did this? Our old system didn't do that. We had to do a customization, and they say money in the long getting your testers into that environment just a little bit earlier. So I say as soon as you have a sample copy of that database, hop on to the e-learning sites and have everybody get in and take training and get familiar with the software. What do you think, Holly?
Yeah, I agree. If you're thinking BC, October is your version to upgrade to or implement into. You get the partner to get your Cronus database set up as soon as possible, and let your testers and your experts in each department start playing and taking notes and writing down things they see and what they're learning and what they're finding. Get them out in the NAVA community and have them look for what's latest, greatest on the new versions and stuff, and check those things out. That way, when you start, even before you've started that conversation and building that re-implementation process and your work order and stuff, you've got ideas in your head going like, in the new version, we don't need these 8 mods because it does this. We can do that. Gee, the new version does this. We don't need that ISV maybe anymore because we could do it right outside of the new version and stuff. So right up front, you want to get started, and then each process along the way, every time your partner hands you another piece of the puzzle to look at and play with, you go there and you start looking and working and testing. And then it's not an all of a sudden like, okay, now there's 3 weeks worth of work and testing to do for a go live project. You've been working on it all along. It's just a natural flow as you're moving forward. And having that available to them in the newer versions, you can have it spun up and sitting on their desktop. And so every time they have a 15 minutes here or there, they could jump in and test and play and look at what's going on. They can become really excited, like, the partner put some new stuff in there, go see what's in there today. Did we add items today? Did we add, lot numbers? Did we do this? And they like to jump in and see those things and get involved. So sooner rather than later, and encourage them to just be curious. And I used to always tell them, try to break it. That was the challenge.
I like it. Try breaking it. Yep, good one.
Try to break it.
Okay, we got another question that came through. How do you motivate users to test? And I know you kind of already went over that a little bit, but how do you clarify and decipher user feedback efficiently? For example, screenshots or demonstrations, emails. What are your suggestions?
And so the feedback from all of my end users and consolidating it and maybe giving it back to the partner, or just how do you field it overall? I guess I have a question to the question, but let's see.
We get some more details. So some of the things that worked best for me were screenshots, obviously. My concern with screenshot is really training them. They think that getting me the little message in the box is the answer, and there's a lot of information around that that's missing. So when you do screenshot, teach them the screenshot is your entire window of nav. So it tells me what page you're on. It shows me the top bar that has the navigation of exactly how you got there, shows me the sales order number or purchase order number or worksheet that you're on. It encapsulates a lot of information if you get the whole screen and not just the little bitty warning message. So that would be one.
Right.
The other thing I really like is you have a steps recorder that comes free with your computer. You type in steps recorder, and it will pop up, and you click the button, and you could walk through those same exact steps you just did to get to the, and it will document exactly what you did, where you went, and screen prints along with it, and you could use that and send it off. That's another great opportunity. And sometimes if you're really, it's scary and it does not look right, shoot, I would just send that ticket into my partner and say, this is a big problem. Can we screen share? And get on a screen share right away and walk through it with them. Sometimes it's way more efficient to do that and get it fixed than the screenshots and emails and things back and forth. So use your different options.
Yeah, if you have the option to get the partner on the horn for a screen share session, I will say that that's typically the quickest way to resolve issues that are uncovered. But if it's a kind of an easy thing to screenshot and then put, you know, here, I clicked here, I went here, I added this piece of data, and then I clicked this button and poof, this error occurred. So not just the error, but the entire picture with some verbiage on how to recreate error. That's really the first thing the partner's going to try and do. What were you doing? How did you get the error? How do I recreate it so I can get the same error so we can debug it, basically. We've got to be able to reproduce it in order to find out what the problem is.
Right. And Des, to that point, I mean, many times on the client and end user side, the thought is, oh gosh, if I get on a call and a screen share, it's going to cost me a lot of money. It's going to take a lot of time, and email so much quicker and easier. And you know what? That is not the case. I can attest to you that many times a lot of extra money was spent on the emails back and forth versus just getting on that call and screen sharing and walking through it. So it may not always be the case, but I'm going to tell you many times that is the way to go. On the user side and now on the partner side, I try to go by the same rule: 3 emails and you're out. And if it's gone back 3 times to you, pick up the phone. Don't dare send a 4th email back. You're already in farther than you needed to be on emails. If it's come back the 3rd time, get on the call and say, hey, just thought I'd call, let's walk through this. So, you know, that's a great rule of thumb too, is to teach people to use that 3 email rule of thumb. You know, don't keep ping-ponging back and forth all day. It may cost you more time and money than just picking up the phone and spending 5-10 minutes together.
Good answer.
Thank you, ladies.
No more questions?
I don't think we have any more questions at this time.
Huh. Wow.
I'm sure if the folks do have more questions, they will contact us, and we will be ready to assist them.
You betcha.
Yes, and bottom line is, you know what, if you're on the call and you're unsure to get started, at Innovia, we have account managers. So if you're with us, reach out to your account manager and say, hey, I need some help getting started with a testing team. Can you give me a hand? And we will certainly do that. If you're with another partner, I'm sure they will be just as excited to help you as well and get that test team going up, because it benefits both sides. So good luck to everybody on building your test teams.
You betcha. And thank you very much for your time this morning. We really appreciate your time.
All right. Well, thank you, Des and Holly, for presenting today. And if you are watching on demand, thank you for joining us. And to everyone on today's call, thank you for joining us as well. We do have a few more webinars coming soon. On Thursday this week, the 18th, we have John Byrne from Innovia Consulting, and he's going to be presenting on upgrades, why they are so expensive when you transition. And then on July 23rd, we have John Grant from Innovia Consulting, and he's going to be presenting on Setup for Success, reviewing manufacturing setup best practices. So if you're interested in any of our future webinars, don't hesitate to go to our website. That's innovia.com/events. We also want to mention our new podcast. If you haven't already watched it, or I should say heard it, it's the Innovia Conversation. And you can find all about the different podcast platforms to listen to on our podcast page, and that's innovia.com/podcast. So check out our podcast selection and subscribe so you get notified on all of our new episodes that are released. And we also want to mention that Innovia is a proud platinum sponsor of BCUG NAVUG Summit in Orlando, Florida this year. and that's going to be from October 13th through the 18th. And if you haven't already registered or you want more information about Summit, you can check out our conference page on our website, and that's innovia.com/conferences. All right, everyone. Well, thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again soon on another Innovia webinar.